How's it going, everybody? In this video, we're going to take the previous video where we went in and we configured just two routers over the course of what seemed like forever. We're going to go ahead and do the ASBR config. So it's going to be a lot of the same thing, same configuration we did for doing customer 1 and doing the BGP peering, but now we're going to be adding the VRFs to the ASBRs, which this should go by relatively quickly because we're not spending as much time on the CE side doing the manual setup. So we'll go through all that. So I have the Notepad docs still ready to go. That's why I kept them, so we would have some sort of referenceable material. Sorry about all that noise. And then once we get all that squared away, then we'll configure, we'll have the ASBRs configured, and then we'll be able to do route exchange. So with that being said, let's dive in. So we're going to go ahead and pull up this guy right here, and we're going to go ahead and start on the ASBRs. So I'm also going to pull up Notepad, and here is our configuration that we need to have. So a lot of this stuff, again, is going to be configuration. It's going to be manual. So what we're going to go do is we're going to go in and set this up in such a manner to where we can do the route exchange the way we need it to. So what we're going to do is we're going to start on the, I have the XR boxes here at the bottom, and I have the iOS at the top. So I'll configure CSR5 and CSR6. I'll get them paired, and I'll do XR2 or XR11 and XR12 respectively. So I'll come in here and I'll do, we'll do a 5 and a :2. So I didn't update this yet, so shame on me. Now I'm going to do 1005. So 1 1 1 1, and this one will be and that's all we want to do. We want to bring in 1 and export 5, bring in 1 and bring in 2, but not bring in anything else, because we don't want the ASBRs to this is a 2, because again, if we were to go and do this, what would end up happening is if we were to import stuff from XR11, the potential for routing loops occurs, and we don't want to have that. So we have that in play. And then I'm just going to do we'll modify this to be a 1:2 and a 1:3, and then we're going to come in here and do a this will be a 102 102 102 102, and then I'll specify export of 5, an import of 1, and an import of 2, and then we can get rid of the rest of this like that. So now what I have to go do is, between these connections, I'm going to do a gig 3.102. The VRF forwarding is going to be C2, but I'm also going to need to specify an encapsulation. So I'll type in encapsulation.1q, and it's going to be 102. And then this time here it's going to be 102.5.6.5. And then a 102.5:6:5, and we're not going to need to no shut it. So we have that there. And then we're just going to do the same thing for this guy. We'll make this guy 3.103. We'll go encapsulation.1q and 103. And then we'll do 103.5.6.5 and 5.6.5. And then we just need to come down here and do the BGP peerings. So in this case, this will be AS1, and then we'll do a 102.5.6.6 : autonomous system 2, and then we're just going to go, and I don't need to have this config in here. It'll automatically do it for me. And I'll do a 102.5.6.6 remote AS2. Go ahead and pull this guy out there. And the same thing here, 103.5.6.6 AS6 to AS2, and then we're going to do a 5, 6, 6. Technically not necessary, but whatever. And then we're going to do a 5, 6, 6 to 2. We'll do 6, 6, and a 5. So that should be everything we need to do from an iOS perspective. So we should be squared away there. We're just going to go ahead and copy and paste this into CSR5. And we'll go ahead and paste. So we should receive a bunch of prefixes in. So if we do show BGP, VPN, v4, unicast, all. Okay, we've learned stuff in from 2, which is great. Let's do show run VRF C3 and see, okay, 102, that's why. So let's go underneath here and fix this. We'll type in no. Let's just pull these config commands out because they're not correct. I still have 102 in there. They're supposed to be 103. And like that. So we'll type in route target export is going to be 103:5. I'm sorry, 103:3. No, that's right. And then we'll do an import 103:1 and 2. So we should have a bunch of prefixes in the routing table here in just a moment. So do show BGP, VPN, v4, unicast, all. There we go. So now we're learning prefixes in from router 1 and router 2 respectively. And that should be all we need to need to worry about there. So we're going to come back over here and we're going to swap the configs out. The route target exports need to be modified on the BGP on CSR6. So let's go ahead and knock that out. We'll do 2 and then we'll do a 6 and then we'll export a 2. And this will be a import a 8 for 2 and then a 2 there, and then we'll import a 16 for that guy. And then we'll come down and we'll just swap this guy out here. This will be just a .6. This part's easy. And then 6 for that. And then we'll come down here. We'll say this is going to be a 103, 103, 103. We're going to export 6. We're going to import 8 and 16. And then we'll just make this a 6. And this is 6. Makes it super simple. And then we'll just swap all these around. This will just be a 5. This will be a 5. And make sure we swap out. This will be a 2 and this will be a 1. And make sure to swap this out for a 1. This will be a 1, but this will be a 5 and a 5, and then a 1, a 5, and a 5. So I'll go ahead and apply that config on this side. Actually, the RD needs to change. This will be a 2:2, and this will be a 2:3. Yep, so that should be everything I need to type in. There should be squared away now. And then we're going to go over to CSR6 and copy paste. So assuming I've done everything correctly, we formed the peerings for IPv6 with C2 and C3, and there we go. That's exactly what I'm looking for. So now what I should see is on route reflector 1, they show BGP, VPN, v4, unicast, all. I should see a whole bunch of prefixes now, which I do, which is a great sign. And then I should go over to router 1, and I should show BGP, VPN, v4, unicast, all. I see additional prefixes in my BGP table, which is awesome. And then I come over here to router 19, and I do a show IP route, and now I have all these additional connections. If I go to router 20, I have a bunch of additional prefixes. Well, no, I don't. I don't have a bunch of additional prefixes, so we have a problem there. So we're not receiving traffic from 1. So let's take a look at 1. Let's do a show run VRF C2 and see what the problem is. So we are importing 5. Let's look at what 5 is exporting. Let's do undebug all. Do show run VRF C2. Okay, so all of that should be working. Why is 1 not receiving it? Let's do a show BGP VPN before unicast all. I am receiving traffic from 23 and 26, but not from 29. So let's get the rest of this config in play, and then we're going to troubleshoot, figure out why it's not working, because we are missing stuff. So we CSR6 do show BGP VPN before unicast all. So okay, so from here we're receiving traffic from 26, but for whatever reason 16 is not coming across. So do show run VRF C2. Oh, that's why. I got the wrong configuration in here. Let's go underneath here, and we're going to type in route target import 2.0.0.16:2 and pull this one out. So now if I do show BGP VPN before unicast all, now 29 shows up. This guy should see 29 now, which he does, and so should router 20 should see 29. And we do. So that's exactly what we want to see. So quickly being able to isolate the problem is actually very handy. I know you might be going, but Rob, what happens if you don't have access to the routers on the other service provider? You pick up the phone or you send an email and say, hey guys, maybe somebody made a mistake, but you know, we're not receiving this prefix, or this customer isn't showing up on this other router. Can you help me out? So there's that. So with that being said, pretty straightforward stuff for the most part. Let's go ahead and get the configuration on XR up and running as well. So we're going to go and bring this down. I'm going to bring this up so we can see the XR boxes, which should be right about there, which it is. So we're going to bring this down a little bit, and we're going to say that on this side here we're going to focus on XR11. So we're going to import 1, and we're going to specify, we're going to import 2, and this is going to be for, we're going to say 1, but for 2, and for 2 for 2, we're going to export 11. That's right, this is supposed to be 1 as well. 1 for 11 for 2. And get rid of this 120. Made that a 2. There we go. And do the same thing. We're just going to copy and paste this config. Or actually, let's just do a strict copy because we don't need to do all this other stuff. And there we go. Get rid of this guy right there. And then we're going to come down to 103.6 and 12. So we're going to say here we're going to import 1, we're going to import 2, we're going to export 11. And same thing with this. Copy paste that there. That'll work. And then we have to come underneath here and we're going to say for the interface it's going to be gig 2.102. The encapsulation is going to be .1Q102. And we're going to specify this will be 11 and 12 and 11. And 11 and 12 and 11. And then we'll come down here and do a, let's pull this no shutdown out. This will be a 2.102. and we'll specify encapsulation.1q 103 and 11 12 11, and that's pretty much all we need from that. So we're good to go. Whoop. We're good to go there. So now that we have that in play, we're gonna go over here. This is gonna be BGP1. This will be RD will be 1:2, and we're gonna just pull this stuff out. This will be 102.11.12.12. Remote AS is gonna be 2, and same thing here. We'll just do a 11:12:12. Remote AS of 2, and we'll just do a 1:3 here, and it'll be a 103.11.12.12 for remote AS of 2, and same thing here, 103.11:12:12 remote AS of 2, and that's pretty much all I need to worry about. So let's just double check our syntax real quick before we dive in. So for VRFC2, we've got 1 and 2 per 2 and exporting 11, importing 1 and 2, exporting 11, importing 1 and 2, exporting 11. That all looks good. Oop, I'm glad I double checked. And 103, 103. Okay, all that looks good. Cool. Alright, so I feel comfortable with that. That config like so. And we're going to go grab this here, jump over to XR11, jump up to global config, and copy paste. Cool thing is once this is in place, then we'll just be able to tweak a couple of minor attributes and get 12 up and running. So there's that. So now we have that going. We're going to do show BGP VPN v4 unicast, and I should be receiving routes from routers 1 and 2, which I am. So now I'm just going to come in here. I'm going to swap this around. The route target values are the time consuming stuff. So 2 colon, we're going to do this on 12, so this will be, I'll be importing from 8 and from 16 for, on both of these, and 2, and we're going to be exporting 12 there. So we'll just copy and paste these lines right here to over here, so we don't have any typos. And then we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to say this will be a 103, this will be a 203, 203, and this will be importing 8 and 16, and then we're going to do a 203 and exporting 12. So again, copy paste is your friend in this particular case, so you don't make any minor grammatical or typos. And then we're going to come in here and 102, let's make sure that it's 102, it is. And then we're just going to make the small IP addressing changes here, 2, 12, and 12, and 12. And then we're just going to specify 11. Make sure that we swap this out here. The RD is going to be 2:2. And remote AS of 1. This will be an 11. Remote AS of 1. Same thing here, 2:3 for the RD. 11 here. 1 here. This will be an 11, 1. There we go. So now let's just double check our config from top to bottom. We're going to import 8 and 16, export 12, import 8 and 16, export 12, import 8 and 16, export 12, import 8 and 16, export 12. We have 102 encapsulation set, 103's encapsulation is set. We have the RD specified, change the autonomous system number, the remote AS is set. All of that looks good. So I'm comfortable copying and pasting this in. Copy, and then on 12, go to global config and paste. And this is the this is the part that makes it easy, is when you have everything squared away like this, and then we're going to commit, and that should work without fail. So now we should form 4 BGP peerings, 2 for IPv4 and 2 for IPv6, 1 for each VRF. So we'll give that a couple of seconds to do its thing, and we'll do there's 1, 2, so we have VRF C2 is up. We should have C3 here momentarily. And it's not the fastest game in town for sure, but I'll go ahead and pause for the moment. Alright, that took a lot longer than I was anticipating. It was almost, it was quite a bit longer. Matter of fact, I was waiting for almost a whole 2 minutes for that peering to come off. So show BGP, VRF, C2, VPN v4, or IPv4, unicast, neighbors, and, or I should say, summary, unicast summary. Alright, so I have the peering is up. I have learned a couple of prefixes. And so if I show BGP VPN v4 unicast, I should have prefixes that I'm learning in, and I am, but we have 3 I'm not receiving prefixes from. Okay, so then I just have to check 8 and 16. So show run VRF C3, and I'm exporting 8. And I should be, why am I not bringing anything in from my local autonomous system? I've learned, or I'm sorry, I'm not bringing anything over from, I'm learning stuff from my local, I am 12, 21, I've learned stuff from 21 and 24. So I've learned stuff from CSR11, or XR11, excuse me. But I have not learned anything from XR16. So let's look at Route Reflector 2, see what he sees. Show BGP VPN v4 unicast. Okay, so I am taking routes and stuff's being learned in from 12. But I'm not propagating, 12's not seeing anything. Let's just double check again. Yep, so I'm not learning anything inbound from, let's see, do I have a peering with the route reflector? I am peering with the route reflector, but I'm not learning any routes from my local autonomous system. So let's do a show run VRF C3 and see what we've got going on. Oh, okay, so I think that might be the problem. So I made a mistake here, and I've got it still set up as 103. And I bet you on 16 I'm doing the same thing here. Show run VRF C3. Yes, I'm exporting 103 instead of 203. That's my mistake. So what I can do to fix this is on 8, I need to go in here and make these 203s and not 103s. So let's go ahead and tweak this config real quickly on here, because we don't want to have any misconfigs. So I'm going to go ahead and take the config that's here, copy and paste it into here. This is going to be R8, CSR8, and then I'll say export. So I'll just put a no in front of all this stuff real quick. No, 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 and no. And then I'll put in, I'll copy and paste this config back in here, and I'll make this a I'll export 203.8, 203.6, 203.12, 203.16, and I'll look at how CSR6 is configured. Same thing. Okay. Well, in that particular case here, let me go ahead and get him squared away too. So CSR 6, I'm going to go ahead and let me fix him real quick. So I'll type in no here. And then I'll put in here will be a 203, export 2036, and import 203, 8 and 16. And then on 16, I'm going to grab all this config right here. XR16. And then I'll say, let me go grab this config right here. At the top, let me just add in a few more so it's easy to determine. And then I'll come in here, I'll just type in no for all these. And then I will say this will be a 2, 2, 2, 2. There we go. So now I'll just copy and paste this in on 16. Global config, copy paste, commit on CSR 8. Do this. Copy paste. And then on 6, same thing. Copy paste. There we go. So now, when I look at 12, and I show BGP, VPN, v4, unicast, VPN, v4, unicast. There we go. So now I'm learning routes inbound, which is what I wanted to see initially. So now if I go to, say, router 24, and let's go to router 30. Show IP route, I should see 21, 24, 27, which I do. So we have the control plane's been propagated, which means BGP routes have been exchanged and everything else is looking good. Now we're going to go ahead and do the reachability testing, see if we can actually ping. So we're going to do a ping test to 10.3.21.21, sourcing from loopback 3, and we can ping. Let's do a trace route as well, numerically, and I get there all day long. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the configuration as it sits. It's a lot of syntax. It's a lot of logic to try to map together and get everything working the way that you want it to. But the big benefit to it is that once you have the config in play and it's operational, and you have reachability and everything like that, getting a ping and a tracer route to work after all that, it's like, yes. If you don't get that yes feeling, then it's like, okay. So that's why when I was looking at XR12 and I was looking at this and I'm like, well, gee, that sure doesn't look right. It should look more like this, where we have fully populated prefix, a bunch of prefixes in the routing table and things like that. Why don't we see more information? And so yeah, things do happen and you're like, But knowing how to correlate where the problems sit and how they come together, that's really important to be able to do. So that's pretty much it for this video. I wanted to get all that up and running because now when we start transitioning away from option A and then going into, well, the video looks like I'm going the opposite. When we're in option A and we're going to option B, so left to right, keep moving forward, that's going to be the aspect of how we take a look at this moving forward. So when we transition to option B, we don't have to spend a bunch of time looking at, all the additional config. I'm not going, how am I going to demonstrate this? I don't have to. So I showed you a lot of the behind the scenes that normally you wouldn't see. I would just go and configure it offline. But I think it's just as important to see what it looks like to actually have it up and running and all the syntax that goes into it. So if you have any questions, please leave a comment in the comment section below. And until next time, guys, take it easy.